Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Katie Roach out of Northwest United States. Thank you, Katie. Lance out of Central United States, and Chris out of Northeast United States. We got the country covered. Chris is the founder of the National Association of Commercial Loan Brokers, a great trade group. I spoke at his event last week. He does a great service in training loan brokers for what? Getting capital and access. Chris, I doubt you have it at your fingertips, so I'll let you mull it over. Well, here it is. You provided over $300 million. How many jobs does that translate to Main Street that your members, your students have been able to help create and to maintain? Any idea?
I mean, it's got to be in the thousands. I mean, I think a more important statistic, Bob, is we did a survey, and the members of the NACLB, the commercial loan brokers, they funded collaboratively over $200 million, helped fund the PPP program in the second round. And so that has to translate into what I call saving jobs. Obviously we know it was a big number that was issued by all these banks, but collaboratively as an organization, 200 million they facilitated in PPP. So I got to imagine that saved a ton of jobs, at least in the third quarter of this year.
What percentage of your members? What percentage of their loan volume is SBA? What do you think?
I would say actually we've done that survey. About 40% of our members actually actively broker SBA transactions.
Okay, very good, very good. I have some more questions for you, but let's go to the polls. Poll question number 1: does your lending institution use loan brokers? And when I say use loan brokers, the better question is, will they pay a fee for loan brokers? That's surprising to you, Chris?
That they pay a fee? No. It doesn't surprise me because it's about half and half. I mean, we see people come back to us all the time and say, hey, I found a couple of lenders, but they're not paying any fees. Do you know of any SBA lenders that are paying fees? So it doesn't surprise me that's half and half.
And there are lenders who will pay. There are lenders who say we're not going to do it. I've always taken the attitude, the loan broker is truly no different than your BDO. You're vetting your BDO. You have them on salary. You're going to vet your loan brokers the same way. It's no different than like spending money on a PPC campaign online to get borrowers in. I mean, you're going to spend money there, and you got to weed out bad eggs. You got to, loan brokers, you still got to weed out some bad deals, but same thing in my opinion. Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a hot topic. It's been a hot topic for the last 10 years. Chris, I don't think you and I have talked about it directly. But do you believe SBA should institute a national registry for loan brokers? The reason why I asked this question, Chris, is the Inspector General always lists this as one of the top 10 challenges for the agency. They cite stats that say loan broker transactions have a higher risk of failure than other types of transactions. 2/3 of the industry says, yeah, it's probably a good idea. What's your take on this?
I think absolutely. I mean, why not? I mean, I think it's a benefit for all involved to have some credibility and transparency. But I think they definitely should. I think it weeds out. I'm a belief of some regulation, not over-regulation. I think that's the right step towards weeding some of the bad eggs out that you write about occasionally on Fridays.
I have no idea what you're talking about. We'll blame Katie for Friday.
Well, I think it's a great idea too, Bob. If SBA instituted the national registry, they could go ahead and run the SAM report, and SBA participant lender could say, "Hey, Chris is a SBA registered broker. He's already had a SAM report run. I picked, just like the franchise identifier number, there could be a broker identifier number. Pick that number up, stick it in my credit memo, and move on."
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I think the greater transparency, the better, because what that does is that rewards, the new phrase around here is good SBA citizenship. If you're a good broker, then those numbers will reflect on your commitment to your borrower, your client, but also to your referral source. Good brokers understand they've got to serve both of those. And if you're a broker who is submitting a lot of trash, you're not going to be in business for much longer.
And maybe that will open up more lenders to accept loan broker, more SBA lenders to accept loan broker business. If they could say, as a qualification, you have to be on this registry.
Chris, how large is your organization?
Which one? NACLB?
Yeah.
Yeah, NACLB. We're over 1,000 members at this point.
Good for you. And you did your event virtual. Next, and I've been, thank you for inviting me. I think I've been involved in every year since you started. What is the plan for 2021?
Well, the plan for 2021 is to be live.
That's all you have to do.
Be live. Yeah, we got to be live, and hopefully we'll get there. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, it's a great event, and I know a lot. You have a lot of lenders who will support your organization in terms of being vendors and interacting with that. So good for you. It's real neat. Hey, let's switch to Katie. Katie, this came out while we think there's no news. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. First of all, we had this great letter, 80 trade groups, and they sent it to all the congressional mucky mucks. Katie, when was this dropped and what's going on?
So this came out yesterday, and it was sent to a lot of congressional members separately, as well as some of the heads. And really what it's saying is that there are many issues in these loan necessity questionnaires. And they're really advocating to get rid of the questionnaire, or at least temporarily suspend it. But what their complaints are is that there's no real guidance that went along with these questionnaires. The process seems to be inappropriate for the situation. The CARES Act never defined a measure for compliance for terms of uncertainty and necessity. Therefore, really shouldn't have been put in this questionnaire. Neither the borrower nor the lender anticipated this approach going into it, especially when they were signing up for these loans. The forms focus on the wrong time frame. A lot of people are arguing that this time frame really should have been at the beginning when they're signing up for these loans, not toward the end, which is really what this is looking at. In fact, it almost makes it appear as though it's beneficial if the business did better during this whole pandemic and came out better, then they're going to favor that. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be to help those that were struggling as well as those who managed to do better. It's got some liquidity data that really probably would create some kind of bias. And the questions about mandatory closures they're saying that basically should not have even really any bearing on the borrower certifications. And simply there's impractical deadlines in there and potential liability for lenders.
Which is the bottom bullet point is a huge concern. Lance, in the CARES Act, it was very clear that the lenders weren't going to have liability, but SBA is doing some rumblings. There may be some lender liability.
Well, for all of us who have participated in this program, for all of us who've been in banking for a while, it's almost like you're trying to underwrite a loan after the loan is already closed. SBA is asking a lot of questions now that probably should have been asked prior to giving the borrower a loan. And again, some of the concerns here certainly resonate with me. What about those borrowers who needed the money but managed to do well during the pandemic and have strong liquidity and the ability to add new employees now? Are they going to be penalized? I mean, there's some serious questions in these new forms.
What is the recommendation of these trade groups? The second question is there anybody opposed to this, Katie?
I haven't heard any opposition yet, but they're recommending basically to suspend use of these questionnaires while they address the issues that were brought up. Then maybe ask the borrowers to provide a narrative statement with some supporting documents instead of doing this particular form, and then just work with the agencies to address the issues prior to really any potential recovery package, because they believe that's going to take too long and they want to address it now.
Chris, what percentage of your members are involved in the PPP loan process? I'm sorry, Chris, can you hear me? No.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Very good. Why is this story important, Lance? Why is SBA? I'm sorry, I'm moving on to the next topic, which is the release of data. Why is SBA fighting this? This is we want to know what the PPP data is for all loans. And there was a court order, Washington Post filed a Freedom of Information Act that said, hey, we want to know everything, not just over 150. We want to know exact dollar amounts. Put you on the spot, Lance. Why?
I really don't know the necessity of knowing everybody who received a PPP loan, other than national publications have seemed to take great excitement in finding problems within the program. When you look at, the fraud within the PPP program, it's a very minuscule percentage of the overall program. When you look at the benefit of the PPP program, it kept people employed, it kept businesses open. And I honestly, Bob, don't see any good that could potentially come from releasing everyone's name. Now, maybe somebody can share with me what the purpose is, but, to find out Bob's, tire shop on Main Street got a $15,000 PPP loan and it helped him keep his employees on staff, who needs to know that? What are you going to do with it? I don't know.
And that I tend to err on the side of full transparency, and I understand your argument. You could probably talk me into it, but I don't. That doesn't answer the question why SB is fighting this. That's unless they think it's an overwhelming amount of work, but it's not. They can just program.
Well, I think SBA is doing this. They're fighting it on behalf of the entrepreneurs across America, keeping unwanted attention away from them and letting them focus on what they need to do, which is operate their business and create cash flow. SBA is an advocate for the small business owner. And if you're an advocate for the small business owner, not getting all the information released, again, I agree with you, Bob. It's a public program supported by tax dollars, and technically you would think, they should release all the information. But also, I'd like to know why the national media wants to have a full comprehensive list. What are they going to do with it?
Well, if it bleeds, it leads. Yeah, you're looking for.
I just two comments to that. I mean, I kind of support Lance's stance on that, but if anything, marketing companies are going to make out great because they're going to take those lists and resell them to merchant cash advance companies, resell them to companies where, I know that's what I would do. I would go to a company and say, hey, you ran out of PPP. Now I can help you with more funding. So I think marketing companies make out. But on the other side of it, I think a lot of business owners are proud of their businesses. They're proud of their accomplishments. And some people felt embarrassed, I think, that they had to go out and, have the government step in, even though it was a great thing. I think they almost feel shameful of letting the public know that, hey, I had to get public assistance to keep my business growing. I think there's some sentiment just from the small business owner.
Hey, Bob, to Chris's comment, I bet I got 20 phone calls during the PPP loan process from individuals saying, hey, Lance, how can we get a comprehensive list of who got a PPP loan? Exactly for what Chris is talking about. And I'm not picking on somebody, but let's say the PayPal of the world. and PayPal was involved in PPP, but now they can get a nationwide list of everybody that got assistance and direct marketing materials to them. Hey, just like Chris said, you need some more money, here you go.
All right, very good. Yeah, let's go to the questions. First of all, Katie, in your reporting today, we got a comment from, and I probably don't have it here, but she said, hey, Katie, the most important thing is when do we get paid on the guarantee on the top 5 things we're tracking? She's right. Of course.
That's very true. I think we probably could have kept going with that list, and I will be expanding that list for our top 10. Because I do think we could have kept going to 8, 9, maybe even 10 things that lenders are really waiting for still.
What we're trying to do is organize this to keep things into context and to prioritize what is important and not get, there's so much information out there. We're trying to organize it for you to focus on the ball and what is important. Hey, Sandy asked the questions. Okay, Lance, I have a borrower. She sold the business, and she didn't tell me that there was a balance due on a PPP loan.
Well, the PPP loans were made to a borrowing entity. It could have been a sole proprietor, could have been an LLC, could have been a corporation. In the case of entities like an LLC or a corporation, the entity is who owes the debt. So if somebody acquired, let's say, LAS Incorporated, who had a PPP loan and didn't reveal it, whoever owns that is still liable for that PPP balance. The question becomes when you have a sole proprietor who sells a business and there's a PPP debt, would that transfer? Sandy, the answer to the question is when we find out how to get paid on the guarantee, that's going to be important because this is one where there is likely to be potentially a remaining balance, and it may or may not get repaid. So,
and it is an obligation. I'm sorry, Lance.
For the business.
Yeah, it is
an obligation for the business.
Back on the disclosure, we have 2 different takes. I love it. Tony says, knowing the names is akin to voyeurism. People will just check out who got what to be nosy. Release statistics only, names not necessary. Paul, on the other hand, takes a different tack, which is I've been working that list and been very, very successful in acquiring new business. So there you go. Yeah. Russell just weighed in and said, hey, I think a narrative statement is a bad idea. He also said he spoke to his local district office and they can't even find the forms. To be clear, the forms are released, correct, Katie?
They are on the portal. They are not on the SBA website or on Treasury's website, so you will have to go through the portal to get them.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Eric's question. Treasury is taking set off from banks on forgiveness. Treasury will not tell the reason why. We believe the most common reason is idle advances. Borrower has to call. Lance, what's your recommendation for Eric and other lenders in this situation?
So if Treasury is taking an amount out of the PPP forgiveness, it's likely that they have, this is kind of interesting because if Treasury's taking something, they've had a federal government obligation that they defaulted on and they were referred to Treasury, which would mean they were not eligible for a PPP loan to begin with, which, Eric, now that's not on you because you rely on borrower certification, but that means most likely this is a borrower who needs referred to the Inspector General. Because again, I think if Treasury, and I'm just trying to read this with a little bit of information, if Treasury's taking a set off on PPP forgiveness, it most likely means that they have a federal debt that they did not repay.
Well, the most common reason is idle. Yeah, and we understand. Yeah. And here's a great question from Bill. This is going to put Lance on the hot seat. Bill, SBA reports loan forgiveness as 100% to my institution, but they took out the idle advance. Does that remaining balance still have a guarantee? Am I on the hook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Again, there's there's a lot of information that we are still hoping to glean from SBA about how this is going to work, because taking the idle advance out of PPP forgiveness was something that kind of was in the original CARES Act, but the borrowers and the participant lenders didn't really figure that they were going to end up with a bunch of small loans on their books. My understanding, they reduced forgiveness, but it still would have 100% SBA guarantee, the remaining balance.
It should, yeah. Hey, Chris, do you know your borrowers, what percentage are involved in business, excuse me, I misspoke, your members, what percentage are involved in business acquisition loans?
I would say a good portion, up to that 40% that I said, because as you know, SBA is a common mechanism to do small business acquisition financing.
Yeah. And Lance, you're going to be talking about that next week. I think the stats are around 23, 25%. Lance, and you're going to bring in all of this other PPP stuff that we know as of today, correct?
We're going to do the best to clarify. Again, Bob, it's one of those things. There's a lot of information that SBA still needs to share with us about what happens after forgiveness, and there's a remaining balance. How do you deal with that? How do you get the guarantee paid? What happens when someone defaults on the remaining balance of a PPP loan? So, I mean, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Business acquisition still continue. Joseph, advance to the next slide. Business acquisition loans continue to be an important niche of lender portfolios. So very good, Lance. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Easy to register. Just send an email to joseph@colemanreport.com. It's on the website, and he'll be happy to do all the paperwork. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I was proud to be part of your event last week. Let me know what else we can do to support you.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job for Main Street. I strongly encourage lenders to work with loan brokers to vet them. Chris, you're an easy person to reach, so I know they can pick up the phone or they can send you an email, and
Sure.
you can have conversations. Lance
Absolutely.
and Katie, as always, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a
Great
day.
afternoon.
Thank you.